Section 1. There's a community in rural Pennsylvania where nobody sprays pesticides in the summer. No chemical foggers, no citronella candles from the big box store, no electric zappers humming all night on the porch. And yet, their gardens are thriving, their bees are healthy, their children play outside every evening without coming back covered in mosquito bites. How? They use a trick. A simple, almost embarrassingly cheap trick that's been passed down through generations, long before anyone had ever heard of DEET, before aerosol cans existed, before the chemical industry convinced us that we needed their products to survive a summer evening outdoors. The Amish figured this out over 200 years ago, and almost nobody outside their communities knows about it. By the end of this video, you will, and I promise you, once you try it, you'll never go back to the old way. Stay with me, because the most important part comes at the very end, and it's the piece that makes the whole system work. Section 2, Introduction. Welcome to Demy, the channel dedicated to rediscovering the forgotten wisdom of past generations, so we can live better, simpler, and more connected to the natural world today. Before we get into the trick itself, I want to set the scene, because context matters. Understanding why the Amish approach works the way it does will help you apply it much more effectively. The Amish are a group of Christian communities descended primarily from Swiss and German immigrants who settled in North America in the early 1700s. Today, there are roughly 380,000 Amish living across the United States and Canada, mostly in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana. They are farmers, craftspeople, and stewards of land that has been worked by the same families for generations. What makes the Amish relevant to us today, beyond their remarkable furniture and beautiful quilts, is their philosophy toward the natural world. They do not use synthetic pesticides. They do not spray their fields with chemicals. They rely on companion planting, natural repellents, biological controls, and practices refined over centuries of careful observation. And here's the thing that should catch your attention. In communities where no synthetic pesticides are used, bee populations are flourishing, gardens are productive, and mosquito problems, while real, are managed without poisoning the very ecosystem that makes their farms work. That balance is what we're talking about today. Section 3, the problem with conventional mosquito control. Let me ask you something. Have you ever used one of those yard foggers, the ones you hook up to a garden hose and spray across your lawn before a backyard barbecue? They work. Absolutely, they work. You walk out 30 minutes later and there's not a mosquito in sight. But here's what else happened in those 30 minutes. Every bee that was foraging in your garden, gone. Every butterfly that was pollinating your flowers, gone. Every beneficial insect that was quietly keeping aphids and caterpillars under control, gone too. Because those foggers don't discriminate. They kill flying insects. All flying insects. The active ingredient in most common yard sprays is permethrin, or a related pyrethroid compound. Pyrethroids are derived from chrysanthemum flowers, which sounds natural, but the synthetic versions used in commercial products are highly toxic to bees, aquatic insects, and many beneficial garden creatures. They can linger in soil and on plant surfaces for days, sometimes weeks, and the effects compound over time. Study after study has documented the collapse of local pollinator populations in areas with heavy residential pesticide use. One study published in the journal Science found that even low-level exposure to common insecticides impairs bee navigation. They literally cannot find their way back to the hive. For pet owners, the risk is equally real. Dogs and cats that walk across recently treated lawns absorb pyrethroid compounds through their paw pads. In cats especially, pyrethroids can cause severe neurological symptoms, tremors, seizures, and in extreme cases, death. This is what the Amish and many traditional farming communities around the world understood intuitively long before the science confirmed it. You cannot poison one part of a living system without affecting everything else. So what did they do instead? Section 4, the core. Amish philosophy. Work with nature, not against it. The Amish approach to pest management, mosquitoes included, is built on 3 principles that their communities have followed for generations. First, remove the conditions that allow the pest to thrive. Second, attract and support the natural predators of that pest. Third, use targeted, specific repellents that affect only the pest you're dealing with. Notice what's absent from that list. There's no destroy everything in a 10-foot radius. There's no spray first, ask questions later. Every step is surgical, specific, and designed to preserve the broader ecosystem while solving the immediate problem. This is the fundamental difference between the industrial approach and the traditional one. And once you understand it, everything else in this video will make perfect sense. Section 5. Step 1. The water discipline. The single most important mosquito control practice the Amish follow is also the simplest. They are obsessive, genuinely obsessive, about standing water. In a traditional Amish farmstead, every container that could hold water is either covered, drained, or converted into a useful water feature. Rain barrels, a staple of Amish homesteads, are always covered with a fine mesh screen that keeps mosquitoes out while allowing rainwater in. Water troughs for animals are either stocked with small fish or fitted with bubblers that keep the water moving, because mosquitoes cannot lay eggs in moving water. Wagon ruts that fill with rainwater get filled with gravel. Low spots in the garden are corrected with drainage channels. Old buckets, cracked clay pots, discarded wooden barrels, anything that holds water and isn't being actively used gets removed from the property entirely. This isn't just tidiness. This is a deliberate, systematic elimination of breeding habitat. Here's the number you need to understand why this matters so much. A female mosquito can lay up to 300 eggs in a patch of water no bigger than a bottle cap. Those eggs hatch within 24 to 48 hours in warm weather. The larvae become pupae within a week. And 7 to 10 days after the eggs were laid, you have 300 new adult mosquitoes from a bottle cap of water. This is why the Amish say, and this is a phrase I've encountered in multiple accounts of traditional farming wisdom, deal with the puddle, not the swarm. Handle the source. Everything else becomes manageable. Section 6. The trick itself. The Amish fermentation trap. Now, here it is. The thing you came for. The Amish mosquito trap. And I want you to notice how simple this is, because its simplicity is exactly what makes it so elegant. You need 4 things. A large, dark-colored container. Traditionally a wooden bucket, but any opaque container works. Water, brown sugar or raw molasses, and active dry yeast. That's it. Here's the preparation. Fill your container about 3/4 full with water that's been left to sit at room temperature for at least an hour. Not cold water, straight from the tap, because cold water slows the fermentation process you're about to start. Add roughly half a cup of brown sugar or 2 tablespoons of molasses per gallon of water. Stir until dissolved. Then sprinkle in a 1/4 teaspoon of active dry yeast. Do not stir after adding the yeast. Cover the top of the container with a piece of dark fabric, traditionally burlap, secured with twine or a rubber band. Cut or poke a small hole in the center of the fabric, roughly the diameter of your finger. Now place this container in a shaded corner of your yard, away from where people sit and gather. About 15 to 20 feet from your seating area is ideal. What happens next is the key to understanding why this works. The yeast begins fermenting the sugar. Fermentation produces carbon dioxide, CO2. That CO2 rises, exits through the hole in the fabric, and drifts across your yard. To a female mosquito, that plume of CO2 is almost identical to the breath of a warm-blooded animal. It's the signal she's evolved over millions of years to track. She follows it directly to the container. She enters through the hole in the fabric. And because the interior is dark and humid, exactly the conditions she's drawn to for egg laying, she goes in but cannot navigate back out. The fermentation process continues actively for 5 to 7 days. After that, you dispose of the contents, clean the container, and refresh the mixture. In Amish communities, these traps are placed throughout the farm, near the garden, near the animal pens, near the house, creating overlapping zones of CO2 attraction that draw mosquitoes away from the people and animals and toward the traps. And here's the beautiful part. Bees are not attracted to CO2. They navigate by sight, by the ultraviolet patterns of flowers, by the scent of pollen and nectar. They will never enter this trap. Neither will butterflies, beetles, or any other beneficial insect. This trap is, by its biological design, specific to mosquitoes and a handful of other CO2-seeking insects. No bee has ever died from an Amish fermentation trap. That is not an accident. That is centuries of careful observation translated into practice. Section 7. Step 2. The companion planting barrier. The trap handles the mosquitoes that are already in your yard, but the Amish pair it with a second layer of protection. The living barrier. Around their homes, their porches, their outdoor seating areas, Amish families traditionally plant a specific selection of herbs and flowering plants that mosquitoes find repellent. This isn't decoration, it's functional landscaping with a purpose. Horsemint, also known as wild bergamot, is perhaps the most traditionally Amish of all mosquito-repelling plants. It's native to North America, drought-resistant, beloved by bees and butterflies, and its essential oils are highly effective mosquito repellents. Amish farmsteads often have thick borders of horsemint running along the fence lines and near entry points to the home. Marigolds are another staple. The pyrethrum that occurs naturally in certain marigold varieties has been used as an insect repellent for centuries. But unlike synthetic pyrethroids, naturally occurring pyrethrum breaks down rapidly in sunlight. It doesn't accumulate in soil or persist long enough to harm beneficial insects at normal garden concentrations. Amish kitchen gardens almost always have marigolds planted at the borders, keeping the mosquitoes and aphids and whiteflies at a respectful distance. Catnip is a remarkable plant that many people overlook. Research conducted at Iowa State University found that nipetolactone, the active compound in catnip, is roughly 10 times more effective as a mosquito repellent than DEET. 10 times. The Amish have been planting catnip near their homes for generations. They didn't need a university study to tell them it worked. They could see it working every summer. Lemon balm rounds out the traditional Amish planting palette. A member of the mint family, lemon balm grows vigorously in almost any soil, comes back reliably every year, and can be harvested to make calming herbal teas, while simultaneously keeping the immediate area around your seeding considerably more mosquito-free. The Amish plant? These not in isolated pots, but in dense, generous drifts, masses of plants that create genuine aromatic barriers rather than token decorative touches. Section 8. Step 3. Inviting the natural hunters. Here is where the Amish approach truly distinguishes itself from anything the chemical industry will ever sell you. Bats. A single little brown bat, one of the most common bat species in North America, can consume up to 1,000 mosquitoes in a single hour. Per hour. Bats are the most effective natural mosquito control system that exists on this planet, and they work for free every night from dusk until dawn. On traditional Amish farmsteads, bat houses are as common as bird houses. They hang them on the south-facing walls of barns, on fence posts at the edge of fields, on tall wooden poles near ponds and water sources. Exactly where mosquitoes are most active. The Amish understood that inviting bats into their ecosystem was like hiring the most efficient pest control service imaginable at zero cost, with zero side effects. Alongside bats, the Amish encouraged purple martins, a colonial swallow species that also feeds heavily on flying insects. Purple martin houses are a traditional feature of Amish and Mennonite farms throughout the eastern United States. A colony of purple martins can consume tens of thousands of insects per day. And in their ponds and water features, as I mentioned earlier, fish. Gambusia affinis, the mosquito fish, is a small freshwater species that feeds almost exclusively on mosquito larvae. A few of these fish in a garden pond will eliminate virtually all mosquito breeding in that water feature within days. The Amish used native minnow species with the same effect long before Gambusia became widely distributed. Predators. Living, breathing, naturally occurring predators. This is the Amish third layer, and it operates 24 hours a day, completely independent of any human effort once established. Section 9. The Amish personal repellent. What they put on their skin when you're working outdoors from dawn to dusk, as Amish farmers do. You need personal protection too, and the Amish have a recipe for that. Passed through generations, completely natural and safe for children. The base is apple cider vinegar. Raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar slightly alters the skin's pH and changes the chemical signals the body emits, making a person subtly less detectable to mosquitoes that hunt by scent. To this base, they add essential oils from the plants they grow and harvest themselves. Lavender oil, peppermint oil, and when available, oil pressed from horsemint or catnip leaves. The traditional ratio, found in several recorded accounts of Amish home remedies, is roughly 1 part apple cider vinegar to 1 part water, with 10 to 15 drops of essential oil per 4 ounces of liquid. This is applied to exposed skin using a cloth or the hands before going outside. It doesn't last as long as synthetic repellents. Reapplication every hour to 2 hours is needed, but it costs almost nothing to make. It's safe enough to use on children over 2 years old. It won't harm any animal that licks your skin, and it smells considerably more pleasant than chemical alternatives. Some Amish families also use raw, crushed garlic rubbed directly on the skin, a technique that dates back even further than the apple cider vinegar blend. The sulfur compounds in garlic are released through the skin as it's metabolized, creating a natural repellent effect from the inside out. Yes, you will smell of garlic, but you will not be bitten. Section 10. Practical takeaways. Let me give you the complete Amish system, condensed into the steps you can start implementing today. Step 1. Audit your water. Walk your entire property and find every place that holds standing water. Drain it, cover it, fill it, or add a bubbler. Do this once a week during mosquito season. Step 2. Build the fermentation trap. Dark container, room temperature water, brown sugar or molasses, active dry yeast, cover with dark fabric, 1 small hole in the center. Place 15 to 20 feet from where you spend time outdoors. Refresh every 5 to 7 days. Step 3. Plant your living barrier. Horsemint, marigolds, catnip, and lemon balm around your porch, seeding areas, and garden borders. Plant in generous masses, not isolated pots. Step 4. Invite the hunters. Install a bat house on a south-facing wall or a post. Put up a purple martin house if your property allows. Add mosquito fish or native minnows to any water features. Step 5. Make your personal repellent. Apple cider vinegar, water, and essential oils. Reapply every hour to 2 hours when working or relaxing outside. This system works as a whole. Each layer reinforces the others. And at no point does any part of it threaten the bees, the butterflies, the birds, or the pets that share your space. Conclusion. 200 years ago, a group of farming communities settled into the hills and valleys of rural America and decided to do things differently. They chose to work with the land rather than against it, to observe rather than override, to build systems that lasted rather than quick fixes that failed. They didn't have chemistry labs. They didn't have research universities. They had time, patience, and generations of accumulated knowledge passed from parent to child around kitchen tables and in barn workshops. And what they figured out about mosquitoes, about attracting them with fermentation, about planting repellent borders, about inviting bats and birds and fish to do the hunting, turns out to be not just philosophically sound, but scientifically validated. The CO2 trap works because mosquitoes are hardwired to follow carbon dioxide. The companion plants work because their essential oils genuinely disrupt mosquito sensory systems. The bats work because they are the single most efficient mosquito predators on Earth. None of this is folklore. All of it has been confirmed by modern science. The Amish just knew it first.